hopefully my computer will maintain its composure and I'll be able to carry on with the show. It's jerking around all over the place. It keeps freezing on me, which worries me a little bit. But hopefully we'll get through the show. As always, it's Thursday night, so we're going to be getting on with the Eisenhorn that we started last week. We put him together. He is in two parts, if you remember the way that I put him together. So we'll be getting on with that Thursday night project where I start to learn some new things, and I'm hoping to get some blending done on this guy, or at least some finer layering than what I'm used to using. I have been practicing with the wet palette, trying to get some colours to blend together, and we'll see how that goes. So yes, as always at the top of the show, let me give a quick shout out to my third tier and above Patreons, who are Tim, Rhys, Wayne and Chris. Thank you very much. Without you, these shows genuinely wouldn't happen. So thank you very much. And as always, if you want to see your pictures shown on there, just there, let me turn my light on in just a second, but my pictures there, you can send them to me on any of my social media, where if you've got an Instagram, you can let me know what your Instagram is. You can be on my Instagram story, and then I put them on in a little folder and pop them all over there for you to have a look at. Other than that, yeah, feel free to find all the other links in the description below, and Wayne will no doubt do his thing where he starts throwing them all out into the chat as well, which will be fantastic. So yeah, if you're watching along, jump on the chat, say hello, and we're going to get cracking on with this. I feel like I've forgotten to say something at the beginning of the show, but yeah, it's been one of those days. I'm still not with it, so yeah, we're going to get on with it. So yes, we'll pop that up on the big screen there. I'm going to turn my light on because I realise it's actually quite dim. Take a minute for that to warm up. But there we go. Right, yeah. So Eisenhorn, he's on his base, and as usual, I try my best to do these Thursday night projects to the best of my ability. And I will attempt, because of the amount of colours that he's got going on now, I'm actually going to try and not get to a point where we're going to have to wait for wash to dry. I think if I paint this carefully, we should be able to just get cracking on with it completely. We'll have a quick look here. I need to having a look. We're getting the red at the bottom of his cape here. We can get that put in there between his legs. We can remove this, get some red down there. We're going to get some all over his feet. When that's dry, I can get that washed and just leave it, and we'd hopefully just layer up and maybe do some work on the base, which I've got a really nice picture of it on the back of the box here. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully we won't get to a point where we're waiting for wash to dry, because that's just the worst part of sitting there watching this show. Welcome Rhys, thank you for joining us, and Chris, thank you very much. Yeah, so we're going to get cracking on with that. So yeah, I think the first thing I'm going to do though is get some red tucked in down, because of where it's placed. It goes right in between his legs. I'm going to get all sorts of red all over the boots and his trousers, and it's just basically just going to make a mess. So we're going to get that done. And pop all of that in there. Like I said, you can see there I'm making a complete mess of his trousers and his boots, which is perfectly fine. One of the biggest things I need to do is try and make sure I paint this in the right order. That's one of the biggest problems when you're painting a model. And of course you can just paint it with it disassembled, and just paint the individual bits and then glue it together when you're done. But I like to make things difficult for myself. Keeps it interesting. I forgot to mention Discord. Yes, I did. don't forget to jump on the Discord chat that Wayne has fantastically add into the chat for me. And there's a link in the description below. Basically, we all just sit on there and have a chat, have a laugh and a joke, share some pictures, and just generally have a good time whenever I'm not actually streaming. I'm pretty much sat on it all day, every day. So feel free to follow the links and get in on the Discord chat. So that is the red on that done. I don't have any idea. That's my phone making a racket. Shut up. I don't have, normally when I do these Thursday night shows, I usually have an idea. So I look at the model, I'm like, I want to kind of get this bit done today. But as of this show, I have absolutely no idea where I want to go in terms of where we want to finish. We're just going to see what happens. Chuck Norris jokes, yes, that got out of hand rather quickly as well, didn't it? We did spend an evening just sending Chuck Norris jokes, or I did, and Chris did, and Wayne was in stitches reading them all. Rhys has finally gotten the rules for Adeptus Titanicus. So you've actually got the rules, or you've ordered them? Normally I'll do the base at the end, but it's quite a nice base, so again I'm going to use the same kind of attention to the base on this model than I do normally. Normally I don't want the base to draw any kind of attention, but it's a nice scenic looking base, so I'm going to spend some time making sure that that looks nice as well. Oh, you've ordered them. Excellent. I wouldn't mind giving Adeptus Titanicus a try. We'll see how it plays. I'm not particularly interested. I wasn't particularly interested in trying it out, because I know that unless it's a really interesting game that just generally is fun by itself, the models that you buy for it are exclusive to that game. So unless I'm really going to be interested in playing it, I'm not really too fussed about investing into it. So I'd love to give it a go. We go grab them tomorrow. Excellent. You'll have to we'll have to set up a time to give them a go, give them a try. Oh, that's something else I haven't done actually, is currently on the Discord I should actually have the live feed chat open, which once it's authenticating is now open. So any qualifying Patreons can join in on the voice chat, should you wish. Of course, there's no pressure to do so. Rhys will invest like you have Kill Team. You'd like to learn the rules with me. Excellent. Yeah, we'll figure out a time and we'll figure it out what we want to do with it. Will, in its original guise in the late 90s, it was amazing. Yeah, for Epic, and like Rhys just said, for Epic, yeah. I'm not against Epic or anything. It's nice as a game. You see, the thing is, when Adeptus Titanicus was released, it was shortly after Kill Team, and the reason why I was hook, line, and sinker for Kill Team was that the same reason I always keep saying, you can go out and buy a box for 40k, or a lot of people have already got a 40k army, and just by simply having a 40k army you can play Kill Team. You just literally just needed the rules. Whereas with Adeptus Titanicus, it's a standalone game, So I mean, it's probably similar to things like Necromunda as well, and Blood Bowl. It's probably why I've never really kind of um, cared for getting into them or trying them out, is because the models that you get for those games, you can only play with those games. So unless you really like those games and you have plenty of opponents to play those games, you're kind of stuck with a bunch of miniatures and a game system that you can't use anywhere else. Which is why I like Kill Team as much as it's only available for like 2 different game systems. There's 40k or Kill Team, but it's kind of, you know, it's just the way I looked at it. Oh, Adeptus Titanicus used to be a standalone game by itself, separate from Epic, did it? Grab some Nuln Oil for that red that we've put in down there. Nice big brush. There's not a lot of light on here today. Why is that not lit up like a Christmas tree? Let's bring that. Oops, I'm dropping things all over the place. Hey, there we go. Oh, that's me texture spreader. I don't need to worry about that. I don't know if that's really helped with the light at all or not. I think it just needs to get some paint down. Right, that's a bit wet, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's have a look. What do I want to do for the base? I think if I not too bad, it's a little bit glossy, but if I pop on, where's my Mechanicus standard grey as well? You'll paint up the 2 warlords. You've ordered a Reaver, and you'll get another one next week. You should have some variety to start off with. Yeah, keep it nice and simple to start with. I wouldn't mind trying it. You know, maybe just a couple of models just to learn to move, shoot, and fight each other if that's what you do. I have no idea. See, the other thing as well is obviously that because of the scale is. Even looking at things like terrain and stuff was a case of you have to buy kind of all this terrain and board games, the boards and stuff, because of its, you know, you have to buy them specifically for Titanicus. Otherwise, when you're using terrain from 40k, it's kind of like it's a little bit on the scale's a bit wonky, but yeah, I'd certainly be interested in trying it at least. And in fact, actually, on the higher tier Discord, maybe later on, me and Rhys were having a discussion about something earlier on today, and I might give it a try. We have a chat with the higher tiers about an idea we've had. See if I can get some help fleshing the idea out a bit. It was called Titan Legions. You got 1 Imperial Titan, 2 Mega Gargants plus bits and pieces. I think I remember something. I don't remember reading something about that recently. Actually, I can't remember where I read it. I did read something about that. Maybe people were just discussing it. Can't remember exactly. Yeah, the imagination, terrain will need some imagination. Yeah, that's the problem with Adeptus Titanicus again. It's one of the reasons why I kind of decided to follow Kill Team all the way through. Was that, yeah, it was everything that you buy for it is multi-purpose, including other games. If you think about it, a lot of other tabletop war games use a 28mm heroic scale. So as long as the theme was roughly similar, you could use 40k terrain if you've got a bunch of it, like I have now, for a lot of other game systems as well. Whereas AT is completely secular. Was it White Dwarf this month? Is that where I read it? Was it? To be honest with you, I mean, I keep buying White Dwarf because I like to have a look through at all the pictures and some of the painting guides and see what they've put in there. But I tend to just flick through it once at the beginning of the month and then forget about the rest of it. I don't even think I even read it properly. I just kind of skim through it. You'll get the terrain pieces. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, if I enjoy it, I probably will. I might invest into it a little bit. See what happens. So as you might notice, unlike normally, I'm actually painting the base. It's one of the first things I'm doing this time. Normally I leave the base right until the end, but just because of the way that this is, it's a nice looking base, and how I want to paint this guy the best I can, then I'm throwing down some colours down here first. You just flick through Warhammer 2, White Dwarf 2. Yeah, I mean, I just pick it up and just roll through it. Oh, you also got Epic Scale Knights and Orc Battle Wagons. Huh. You only read certain bits. You're a year behind reading them. Yeah, I mean, my my local shop, a little corner newsagent's around the corner from me. He gets it in for me. I'm literally the only person in the area that does anything remotely wargaming, and I noticed actually, I got him to start stocking White Dwarf for me. I went in there asking him because I thought, well, you know, ask him to get it rather than me having to go into town and buy it. And I noticed as soon as he started stocking that, he also started stocking Wargaming Illustrated, or whatever it's called, the tabletop wargaming magazine. Like, yeah, you're not going to sell that to me, mate. Certainly not at the minute. I think I did buy one of them, just to see what it looked like, but yeah, it was all historical wargaming and stuff, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not interested in any of that. The Super Heavies 412 do started off with Epic Scale, did they? Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to wait for that to dry. The outside of this cloak is definitely, let me have a look and see what he's got going on there. Is that leather? Kind of looks like, no, it's black. So it's definitely black that he's got going on there. So we're going to paint the outside of his cloak black. So we're definitely going to start laying some decent amount of colour down today. And then perhaps it'll be next week where we start adding some blends up to it, hopefully. I want to try and see how far I can extend my learning, but before we do that, I'm going to have to clear out some gunk from the inside of my Mechanica Standard Grey here. This is the reason why people say to use dropper bottles. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I tried using dropper bottles. There's a pain in the backside to transfer the paints, and in the end it's just as messy in a dropper bottle as well, because it gets all over the nozzle. There we are. Just clear that out. To be fair, I'd left that a little bit longer than I usually would anyway. Why it was so bad. Evening, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. There we are. Let's clear that out. There we are. Much nicer. I'm ranting again. I'm not ranting this time. I'm not ranting this time. I'm doing perfectly fine, Dan. Thank you very much. Right. Okay, so we've done that bit. Right, where's me black? There we are. Over here. No dry brushing tonight. No, I try dry brushing with my Thursday night project actually. I will do a little bit, but dry brushing I tend to do to get a good result, but without spending a huge amount of time on it. Whereas the Thursday night projects is all about doing the best work I can on everything. So I'll use the technique that's best for the job, I think is the way that I would say it. So if I need some edge highlight and some really sharp edges, I'll edge highlight it. If I need to dry brush it for a soft highlight, then I'll dry brush it. And then if I need to, which I want to try and do is get some blending going on this thing, then I'll learn how to do that. So give it an hour and there'll be rants. Yeah, probably. One of you will say something that will kick me off. You always do. I should get a soapbox in here. I do a little graphic on the screen. This is the moment of the show where I am going to take a box and I'll get up on my box and I will start kicking off about something. And dropper bottles? No. Where are we going? Hatchet? Yeah, don't get me started about Hatchet. Yeah, definitely not. One brush blending, two brush blending, glazing. Technically, it'll probably be more like layering than blending, to be fair. Whereas I was just practicing the other day getting this here in my wet palette, and so basically, I mean, this is dried now because it's been there for so long. Yeah, a wet palette doesn't keep everything, so obviously, you know, for argument's sake, some of the red areas I'll start at this end and I'll get some paint, and then once I've finished with that, I'll move along a little bit and I'll start here and get some paint, layer it up, and then just gradually move my way along until I get to orange. But yeah, it's been sat there so long it's kind of all blended together completely. But that's a kind of, I think that's a, you know, because I was saying, I can't remember which show it was I was saying it, but it was you know, I've only been painting for 3 years or so, and so, you know, the videos that I put out are, you know, as basic as I could possibly get, but also giving you really good results. But it's kind of like 3 years behind my painting skill. The Thursday night project that you see at the minute is me actually painting to the best way I can, but also learning the new things. So yeah, so that's kind of the way I do it. No, Wayne and Chris are trying to get me really started up tonight. You're really trying to get me. You're trying to derail the show. We're not derailing a Thursday night show. It's not going to happen. I found you have to add water to the wet palette most days to keep everything wet constantly. Yeah, you would, because while it's open, the water's evaporating from it. So yeah, wet palettes wet palettes won't stay wet indefinitely. If it's open, if you got the lid off, it will start getting dry, and so you will have to add water to it throughout the day. I have to do the same thing. Even closed, it evaporates daily. What wet palette are you using? Because if your wet palette is drying up when it's closed, I would say it's not airtight. I mean, obviously, without actually seeing what it is you're using, I have no way of knowing that. But that's what I would possibly say. The Redgrass Games one. Oh, okay. That's surprising. Is it the small orange one? One thing you could try, when you put the lid on it, you do what we call burping it. Do you put the lid on? Hang on, let me just bring this out. When you put the lid on, make sure it's obviously in the right place, and go around the edges, making sure it's all lined up properly, and then press in the center. Just push the air out of it. It's not a perfect seal, but it helps get rid of a lot of the excess air, and that might help. Other than that, I would suggest having a look to make sure that this is all clean. I've got a bit of gunk up on mine actually, and it's not sealing very well. This might be dirty. Yeah, you keep your water pot on top to try and seal it better. Honestly, that is a surprise. I'm surprised that you're losing out, because I can keep stuff wet on my palette for a good week without needing to top it back up again. So I wouldn't actually. I don't know what else to suggest about that, I'm afraid. Is there any advantage to buying a wet palette? I have a ghetto palette. Well, I did do a video on it where I do a 20-minute talk about wet palettes. So have a look at that one. On the whole, it's personal preference, because I'll tell you now, there are hundreds of painters out there that are far better at painting than I am, have a lot more experience than I am, who wouldn't be seen dead paying for a wet palette. because their ghetto palette is doing absolutely perfectly fine for them, and there is absolutely no reason to go out and buy a new one. My experience was that my ghetto palette would not play ball. I could not get it to function as I wanted it to, and quite frankly I was thinking that wet palettes was a complete waste of time. I just did not understand what the whole deal with a wet palette was, and I was ready to just go back to my regular palette, which is how Rhys paints. Rhys has got absolutely no qualms with using a regular palette, and her work speaks for itself, of course. Having said that, I then paid out for a Frisk's wet palette, which is basically just a vacuum formed piece of plastic with a piece of cartridge paper on the inside. In fact, I'll go grab it. So keep it to one side. You use it every day, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I top mine up every day as well. But yeah, so quickly, this is my Frisk's wet palette. It's just a vacuum formed piece of plastic with a lid on it, and basically you put to what amounts as cartridge paper on the inside, and put a bit of baking paper on the top, but it's obviously their branded stuff that's aimed. And I hated this as well because it's got no seal to it, and I couldn't stand it. Again, I almost gave up wet palette. But then the Red Grass Games Kickstarter came out with the sponge, which is basically a medical grade sponge, and their wet palette paper. What sold it to me, obviously, is their research into a reusable membrane paper, which will be interesting once they get round to doing it. But that's what sold it to me, and it just looks nicer. I mean, a ghetto palette doesn't look very nice, even if it does work. And neither did the Frisk's wet palette either. And so basically I bought it because it looks nicer. So, going back to your question, is there any advantage to buying a wet palette? Yes. What the advantage is depends on who you're talking to, and also the answer to that question, is there any advantage to buying a wet palette, is no, because again, it depends on who you're talking to. So yeah, I think I explained it a little bit better on the Everything I Know About Wet Palettes video, I think. I think Wayne has the ability, oh no, he probably can't do it at the minute. I will try and do it for myself in a minute to try and find the link for that video, or you could go and look for it. I'll try and put the link in the description after I've done the video. Yeah, let's have a look. It sounds faulty. It does sound, yeah, Dan's does sound a bit faulty. I'm surprised, but I don't know. Have I missed anything else? Wayne uses plain white tiles. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is what I mean. Rhys just uses. I don't know if Rhys is in the chat still, but Rhys just uses a regular palette, which Elle was using earlier on today. This is precisely the palette that Rhys will use, and you've seen what she does, and this works perfectly fine as well. If you know what you're painting. Rhys has got. Rhys will tell you. She knows how much paint to get out of the pot. She knows how to thin it, and so she doesn't really waste a lot of paint, which is what a lot of people will say is the best reason for having a wet palette, is you don't waste paint, because it stays wet and you just use it until it's all gone. But then, you know, that depends on if you're wasteful with your paint. If you're good at deciding how much paint you need to use, then that's really not going to be an issue. So yeah, it's a bit of a non-answer one for you there, Chris, but hopefully it's it kind of helps answer that question. And Wayne's got his dinner time. Fair enough. So yeah, so a bit of a non-answer there, but hopefully it's gets you there. I'll have a look later. I've no problem with my homemade one. It does what I need it to do. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the point. I mean, if you're perfectly happy with what you've got and it does what you need it and you're not fighting with it, then yeah, there probably won't be a reason. There isn't a need to go out and buy a professional wet palette, because essentially you go onto any of the painting sites on Facebook, you'll have a ton of people jumping on their high horse about how what was the point of giving a company a bunch of money for a wet palette that works perfectly fine, that does exactly the same thing as a piece of paper and a bit of kitchen roll in a airlock box. Yeah, you know, it really bugs me when I see those sorts of comments, actually, to be fair, because I know full well that my wet palette does exactly the same as a Tupperware tub and some baking paper, but I didn't have to make this one, and it looks nicer and it works how I wanted it to without me having to mess around trying to figure out what I've done wrong. But if you've done the experimentation, and I think I used that I think I used that explanation in that video, actually, is that one of the biggest advantages of buying a wet palette is that you don't have to experiment. It's kind of already made up. You just follow the instructions. Well, right, yeah, you started me off. There we go. You got me. You got me started. Right. Let's have a think here. What do we need to do now? Right, we're going to add some brown to his boots. Actually, speaking of not needing to waste paint, I've got a little bit of a puddle of brown on my wet palette. It's been there for a few days. In fact, I can't even remember why I put this on here. Oh, that's it. I think this was doing the boots on the Imperial Guard Sniper at the beginning of the week. So just add a touch of water into it. Good to have around sometimes. It does. It feels good, doesn't it? You clear the air and get it off your chest. So I'm really trying my hardest now, right now, to not leave any part of this model to have to dry before moving on to something else. So I am struggling a little bit. I do remember that these boots, his shoes, were actually glued onto the model, and so it's a little bit of a pain to actually paint these things. But if I'd have left them off, I'd have been trying to hold onto a single boot, which would have been really difficult to paint. It's doable, but I don't really fancy trying to hold a pinned boot to try and paint it. I've always found that trying to glue stuff together after it's painted is a pain as well. Looks like I'm winning this one. Yeah, the soles of his boots I'm going to do black anyway, so I don't have to worry about getting too much into there. Just making sure that the boots are done, and then we can wash those to shade them and bring up the highlights. There we are. And what I also want to do is get a little bit of brown on this holster as well. Theoretically, I'm looking at the box art in front of me, and technically this was painted in black, but I think it could get lost a little bit if we paint it in black, so I'm going to pick it out in brown leather, much like his boots are. Tried to paint a decent face yesterday following the asset drop guide and paints. I think I lost some detail when I primed it. It's a learning curve. It is difficult. Sometimes when you over prime something and you lost the detail there, and it's difficult. Speaking about faces, actually, it was Chris actually popped a step-by-step tutorial on the Discord earlier on today. It was pretty good. Quite like the interesting way of doing it is priming white and then washing it with, what was it, Seraphim Sepia, to pick out those details really early on. That made finding the highlights so much easier. It's an interesting way of doing it. I'd never thought about doing it that way. Which I thought was absolutely fantastic. What we want to do as well is get the... What is that that's going down there? Is that... Back there a second and have a look to see what part of the model this is. We've got going down here. Is that? Oh, that looks like a black strap as well. Alright, okay, we'll do that in black. Yeah, that was it was a fantastic way of doing it. I wouldn't mind giving it a try. Never know, I might even do it on this model actually, give it a go. It's what the Thursday night projects are all about. Learning new things, trying things out I've never done before. I want to make sure actually that this is covered. We have a look under here, making sure that I've done all of the areas that we're going to be able to see. Need to get up in there. No, so I'm not too worried about painting all of the inside of the cloak here. I mean, that would literally be wasting both yours and my time. But, so we want to make sure that it does look fully painted. You can see there is a bit of transfer where I've come over. That looks good. That's good all the way around. Yeah, we go, we're good. Might be able to just tweak that up just a bit in there, just to be on the safe side, just to go over inside just a little bit. Oh, you're welcome, Chris. Credit where credit's due. Might try that on the next one you have to do. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, especially with sort of, for argument's sake, on these guys. I mean, it's got quite an interesting face he's got going on there. And you know, the face on this model, you know, is quite it's quite the focal point. You know, it's quite the focal point of the model. So you know, getting that right is probably quite important. So definitely want to make sure that that's done well, as well as all the other layers of cloth that he's got going on in here. So yeah, definitely. What else has he got going on here? That looks to be like a black and some various folds going on. Pop this back on for a second, just to try and see where all of these folds and buckles and stuff are. I want this put in black on the top here as well. Not really sure what a lot of these details are. It's got a lot of stuff on him. It's really difficult seeing what's what. If you're on Discord, Daniel, the guide is in general chat 3. Yeah. I watched a video by Kojo about making your own skin tones. Too advanced for me now, but worth a watch to put the idea on the brain for later. Yeah, it's a good idea, actually. As the TMP says, bases and banners. I don't know what TMP is, to be fair, and I'm not 100% sure on what the on the reference, to be honest with you. What have we got going on here? He's definitely got a really light blue. I remember a light blue. I know what I'm going to do about that. That'll be glazed. Paint that up really light grey and then glaze it into blue. I've done one of those before on a Primera Psycho around the waist there. This is black here. I have to re-highlight that. Red back up, it's kind of coming across. One thing about these fine cast models is these angles are not sharp at all, so it's really difficult to kind of run your brush along different angles and different faces of the model. So you just kind of have to keep painting over it. So the edge of his edge of the cloak is red, and the flat on the outside is black, but it kind of curves over the not like a plastic model where those are very clearly defined faces. Very difficult. the miniature painter YouTube channel. It's the areas that you pay more attention to, as it's usually the focal point of the miniature. Human nature to look at someone's face first. That's interesting. The miniature painter. I'll have to have a look at that, see if I can find it. I don't think I've ever heard that one before. That's not to say that I thought I knew every YouTuber out there, but not one that I have encountered before, I don't think. It's definitely going to be a bit backwards and forwards on that red and the black, though. That's going to get really annoying trying to get that done right. I am kind of waiting for the boots to dry at the minute, but I am going to keep cracking on, keep going forwards with this. I think what I want to try and do is, I was looking at his trousers here, and they're kind of a grey kind of colour. I know that it doesn't really show up on the camera very well, but it's kind of a grey colour. But this is kind of a really kind of warmish grey with brown tones in it. And this is closer to blue, so I'm looking up at my what's it that I've got here. And I'm thinking more of an Incubi Darkness, which is more of a really dark blue. Might try do that. Or Skegadon, what's this Stegadon Scale Green? I think we'll get away with that actually. Wash that down a bit. Yeah, let's try this. This is a brand new paint. I only bought this the other day. I think actually no, I bought this when I bought the model, because it's the I think, I can't remember when I bought this. Yeah, we'll give this a go, see how these look. As long as the paint is thin, we can always cover it back up again if I don't like it later on. Got a little bit of wet red next to it as well, so I've really got to be careful. Yep, there we go, caught the red. Never mind. We're going to start getting runs of paint running around everywhere. We should be alright. Yeah, I like that colour. I know it's not covering very well right now, and generally the light on this is terrible. I want to see if I can brighten this up again. I know that I keep changing around with the filters and stuff, but for some reason, whoops, that's just far too much. Let's see if I can bring that brightness down a little bit. Nope, that's just generally not working at all, is it? Bring the contrast. I don't even know what I'm doing with this. Yeah, that's just not going to work at all, is it? Nope. We need to upgrade some cameras around here, I think. Right. Of course, as always, just keep an eye on Instagram. You should be able to see the pictures as they get posted, or on the Facebook or Discord, whatever floats your boat. I try and post it everywhere, so that it doesn't matter what you prefer to use, you should be able to see the stuff. Somebody has there we go, Duckman, is that you, Dan, on the Discord chat? We do have a new Discord user. When I put a pic on Instagram, do I need to tag you in it? Well, the thing is, putting a picture on Instagram is quite difficult for me to save it, for you to see it on your, for me to save it to my phone, because it tends to have a bit of a, what's it called? Copyright policy, whatever, you know, trying to stop me. If you put it on in one of the picture chat rooms on Discord, I can save it from there, no problem, and then I can then save that and put you in my Instagram story. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, you tag me in it, you should be able to, I should be able to see it as well. So feel free, do whatever you want with your pictures. I'm not. There's not really any rule when it comes to posting your pictures, because if you want me to put a picture on the stream, then I will do my best to get it there, and if I do have a problem, then I'll just let you know what that problem is. So yeah, if you want a picture put up, you know, make sure I've seen it in however you want me to, however you want to do that, and if I haven't seen it, then just tell me exactly where it is and then I'll find it. It's a bit confusing, but I haven't really kind of figured out the best way of getting everything done. It's kind of just whatever floats your boat. We'll figure it out. But I will say, welcome to Discord, where Nuts and Wayne just generally try and throw me off, pretty much try and derail everything I do instead of just my streams. It's a lot of fun over on there at the minute. We're all just having a laugh and just generally say, I said to them earlier, it's kind of like the Discord has become an extended version of my ad hoc streams where, you know, anything can happen, and instead of it happening live on YouTube, it's happening in the Discord chat. There we go. Have I done that red nicely now? I don't know. I think that looks alright. One thing I do know that I do need to do as well is pop on some red around this book. So yeah, I'm hopping around this model all over the place at the minute, just doing a bit of this, then doing a bit of that. I'd love to try and get some colours down. I might not get a lot of highlighting done, certainly in the first episode, maybe episode or two, but hopefully we'll get a really good good looking start to get some of these colours down, and we start seeing what's going on and where it's happening. Am I blaming other people again? No. You see, would I really do a thing like that? Just blame everybody else for what's happening around me? Oh dear. let's get some shade all over this thing now. We've done a little bit of non-oil just on the grey there, and we're going to start throwing this down in all over it. So I want to add a little bit of grey. That brush is no good. That brush needs cleaning. Whose fault is that? I don't know. Somebody want to take a number? No, that should be working okay. No, it's a bit sloppy. Let's grab a different one. There we go. This one will do. Oh, again, I wasn't ready again tonight. I need to get all of my brushes soaked. Getting some ISO alcohol on them. It's your fault. There we go. Thank you very much, Chris. There we go. You stepped up. Take it on the chin. Take it for the team. What other whatever slogans I can think of? Right. So we gotta wait for that to dry, so that'll probably be done. What is the time? 8 o'clock. I've been here for an hour already. Wow. Okay, so we've got some missed a bit. Just add a little bit more under there. There we go. You're not the newbie anymore. Oh man. And pass that mantle on quick. Alright, so I'm having a look at this. I'm trying to see colours in terms of this bit here, which looks quite white, which I would assume is probably an off-white creamy kind of colour. So I am trying to follow this a little bit. I'm kind of looking at the colours and thinking, what do I want to do with them? It's kind of the same sort of colour as the pages in his book, and the same as kind of the parchment that he's got going on there. So I imagine it's a really light colour. I think it would be a kind of a bone colour. So I think the first thing I need to do is layer that up with just to clean it up where the wash has gone and various other bits and pieces all over it. We need to see if I can find my Xandri dust. I think will give us a nice base to work up of. That'll give us a nice something to tone it up from the red that's kind of gone on there. Trying to get right up to the red on the inside of the cloak here. And like I said, because this fine cast is really difficult to kind of see where all of these angles are. It's unlike plastic, the details can't quite get as sharp. And I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I'm not actually using my expensive brushes to do all of this. I've found this major brushes number 2. It's got a little bit of a hooked end. I don't know if you can see very well. It's got a bit of a hooked end, but it's kind of doing me, it's actually doing me quite well. There's no need, like I keep saying, there's no need to be spending a ton of cash on things that, you know, if you can get the desired results out of cheaper stuff. And I think that comes back down to what Chris was saying about if there's any benefit to buying a wet palette. If you can get the results that you're happy with without spending a ton of cash, don't do it. I do have my Winsor & Newtons and I am very happy with them, and they certainly have a role in my painting. But if you can get a result you're looking for without using them, then Don't force yourself to use them. It's kind of a semi-rant for you there. Not a proper rant. It was kind of like a half-assed rant. Kind of putting 50% of the effort in that one. Now, throw down some colours in here for the pages of the book as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of base coating getting done today. I don't know how far we'll get with the base coating, but a lot of the base coating and washing is done now, and then perhaps it won't be until next week that we actually start getting some highlights done and start picking out those details. And like I said, a lot of the layering I'll do is I'll especially on like the cloth and stuff, I've been really trying to get cloth to be layered or blended up, not necessarily wet blended, but you know, layered up into softer highlights that I would usually achieve with dry brushing. I can do that over a solid dry base, and then I'll start with the base coat again and then just gradually build it up in layers. So that can be weighted. Would get the base coats down at least, and then I can start gradually building up those layers that we are looking for, which is similar to what I'm going to do. Is I'm actually going to go, he's got a belt in the middle here. If I bring this over here, he's got this belt in the middle, which is a very, it looks white, but it's also kind of very kind of baby blue. And I have done this before, whereas I will paint it white, but then I will glaze it with Guillemot blue glaze, and that gives us a really nice kind of baby blue kind of look. And I've done it with a Primaris, I before the E, Wayne, with a Primaris Psyker. I think it was those. I think it was this group of 3 with the Imperium Sanctum Primaris. I can't remember Psykers. I can't remember exactly what they were called. They were metal models. One of the models that GW is still selling metal. It's fine about your Discord name, Dan. We hold no judgments. We'll build that Celestra Grey back in, which is pretty much the same colour as the primer, so it doesn't really look like I've done anything to it. There we go. Right, so what else do we want to do? We want to stick some wash down on the boots. So yeah, it definitely looks like we're getting a lot of base coating and a lot of washing done today. So hopefully there will be a reasonable amount of. I mean, we haven't touched his torso yet, obviously. Well, this half of him, so it will look a little bit janky when I put the picture up on the various social media areas, but it'll be all right. We'll be able to see some detail. We'll have plenty to do. Obviously, next week when we get started on, we can highlight some of these areas, or I could start working on the back section of him just to get everything kind of base coated and then washed, and then it's kind of just it's highlighting from there on in, which I could possibly do when the whole model's actually put back together again. So I did say when I was building this last week, this will go back together once the inside of this cloak and the outside of this cloak is done, because then once I've done that, everything else is then accessible. So you won't have to see half a model too long before it starts coming back together again, and you'll be able to see everything as it happens. We all have names on Discord. I'm just glad you don't know where it comes from, and yeah, with that I know where this conversation has gone further down. As soon as you say I'm glad you don't know where it's come from, you have to spill the beans. It was talk of the town for a few years ago, so you're infamous. So yeah, you're definitely going to have to tell us now. You have to get in on the Discord. You'll have to get up there and go, hi, my name's Daniel Grant. People call me Dan on YouTube. And my nickname is, and this is why. It's going to have to happen now. Or every few days you'll have, where's your nickname come from? Or every new player, every new person that joins the Discord will be like, why is your name this? To be honest with you, I've forgotten what it is now already. I'm too busy. Yeah, Duckman, there you go. You see, you're going to have to, yeah, exactly. People are going to start asking questions now. Right, so what I'm going to do, grab some Screaming Skull now. So I'm going to, like I said, the colour of the this lighter section is kind of similar to parchment. So I'm kind of just going to bring this up in a few different layers just to bring out the colour, to make it match. I might leave the inside as the Xandri dust. Actually, it'll give us a nice shadow on the inside there. Not that you can even see the shadow, so it doesn't really matter. But these are the things I'm thinking of as I'm painting this model. It looks like there's a gold trim around it as well, which is going to be fun. Should be easy enough though, a bit of Retributor armor. Yeah, we'll keep the inside of it dark. We'll just paint the edges gold. Daniel, you'll get bombarded with why. Mighty Ducks fan, maybe? Yes, why Mighty Ducks. I'm going to be really annoying and give Will something to rant about now. I've got to go and have dinner. Or I could give it a try. You could give it a try. Watch me come back in about an hour and I'll still be talking about it. I don't actually know when the Thursday night show is going to end these days, because it did used to end at 8, but that's when I start at 6:30. Now theoretically it could end at 8:30 because I started half an hour earlier. But it's already 20 past, and we'll see how we go. People are still enjoying what I'm doing, or if I get to a point where I can't really do a lot more because I've pretty much maxed out what I can do. So we'll see. Ghostbusters remake. Yeah, I'm not gonna get on with that. That would get me. That would get a long video all by itself. That Ghostbusters remake. Oh man. Yeah, it's close. You'll get me close. I can't make a video of that though. I'm not that kind of channel. Maybe I'll set up a separate channel where I just start whining about movies and studio executives sticking their nose where it doesn't belong, and the duality of modern day culture. Started a channel like that though, I'll probably get a lot of thumbs down. At least there was a story to the new Ghostbusters movie. Was there? Was there? I sat down to that movie and started hating it the minute I started watching it. I'm not even sure I remember that story. I mean, I'm not saying that the original was any good, but it definitely, the remake was awful. Right. Let's have a think. What do we want to do now? I think we're going to add a little bit of a wash to his trousers. He's going to go. No, I'm not going to go. I'll hit you up on Discord later and explain. TTFN. Alright, alright, Dan. I think it's kind of time that I start thinking about wrapping up this show anyway. I've done a really good job on pat myself on the back. I'm pretty happy with what we've got done so far today. We've got plenty of washing and detailing done, so next week we can get cracking on with some highlights on this guy pretty quickly. I'm really happy with the way that this has moved along. We've gone up to grey on the middle bit here, so I think what I will do just before I do go is, I did mention it today, so I may as well finish it today, is just get the Guilliman blue glaze done in the center on his belt here, because this is what I do. So it's kind of using a glaze on a base coat such as this kind of brings out the highlights and gives you the tint at the same time, which is really handy. So there's not a lot of paint on the brush, and I'm just going to run that along in here. So it kind of using it like a wash. But then what we can do is clean off the brush Make sure it's nice and clean. Don't have too much water in it, otherwise you start diluting the glaze. And then what we can do is start taking a lot of it away, leaving just a very fine layer of the stuff along the center, down in those deep recesses. Now of course it's wet, so the contrast is really high. It kind of just looks like there's so it's really blue, which it is, but once that dries, that will soften up into kind of a blue kind of wash tint, which is a little bit stronger than is a little bit brighter than Nagaroth Nightshade, but will give a really nice finish. So just before we go, I may as well just throw this up closer to the camera and let you guys see what we've got so far. So as you see, that blue looks really strong right now, but once that dries, that will look much nicer. I've got a really rubbish light here, so the light is not looking too good. Really harsh light as well, so that's not helping. But hopefully once we start adding highlights and stuff to that, the camera's going to be able to pick it out a bit easier. So yeah, it looks like a bit of a mess, but we're definitely going to have some dry brushing done on the base here to pick out the details and then highlight those up a bit. They're all a bit dark at the minute, so it all just blends in together. And we still have his body here. Whoops, if we can just press that on there without pressing onto the glaze, there we are. So that's the state we're leaving him in this week. So I think we've done a reasonable amount today, considering this show is only about, you know, what is it, about an hour and a half long. So these shows are all about doing the best work I possibly can. So we don't expect to get everything done in 90 minutes. I keep bringing that up, I have done it before. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget, obviously, as always, send me in your pictures and we'll get them on here. And in fact, I mean, we've got, who have we got? We got 4 people watching. I tell you what, I am hoping that this is a bit of a challenge. I am hoping that Eisenhorn is the product, is the painting project that gets us up to 10 viewers. You know, we got 4 at the minute over in the corner there. Well, past Chris's models, and another one. Go away. We got 4 viewers at the minute. I would like to see if we can get 10 viewers while we're doing this project. And why am I saying that to you guys? Well, this is what we're saying. Share these videos. You know, even if they've already gone, if they've already been live, that's fair enough. Just share it. If you want to, if I do something specific, maybe you could time code it. In which you know, one part that was particularly interesting to you, you timestamp it on a post somewhere, or just share it around, you know, and we'll see if we can get some more people interested. We got Dan has joined us on Discord, which is absolutely fantastic. Seems to be a bit of a growing community over there for the Base of Operations fans, which is brilliant. I'm really happy with that, and I thank every one of you for being a part of that and helping me get that all set up and getting it raring to go. I will be back tomorrow. I'm premiering my Ask Me Anything, which I will need to record tonight. I need to get that recorded, edited, and then uploaded so that we've got it ready for tomorrow night. And that will be premiered at about 7 o'clock. So, all being well, with half term and kids and family, I'll be at my computer. The tier 2 and above patrons, I believe, will be able to, or is it tier 3? Can't remember exactly which tier, but I should be in the chat. Don't worry about sharing every live show, Wayne. Don't worry about it. It's fine. If you miss some, you know, it kind of gets people wanting to see them again. But yeah, don't forget. During the premiere of my Ask Me Anything, I think it's my 3rd tier and above patrons actually get to live chat with me while it's on at 7 o'clock. I'll be on the Discord live chat. But yeah, I'll be in the text chat on the YouTube, watching that along with you. So don't forget, Ask Me Anything tomorrow should be released, and then I will be back for the next live show on Monday. with Conquest. That's my next planned live show. But there may be some ad hoc ones anytime. So make sure that if you haven't already done so, subscribe and then hit the bell button to make sure you get notified every time I do one of my live shows, which is just randomly sent up. There might be one on Saturday night, but we'll have to have a look about that. Alright, so yes, I'll be back Monday for our show, and then I believe there is a live game on Tuesday, and yep, and Wayne's done it for me. On Thursday there will be we'll get cracking on with this guy again. Alright, so yeah, I think to Dan, Chris, Wayne, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Rhys, you've dropped in as well, thank you very much. Thank you for watching this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Alright, ta-ra.